Age discrimination is a very serious issue in this country. Based upon my research, the lawsuits are really going up in, say, the last 20 years based upon my Google research and other research, but very few people are actually winning age discrimination lawsuits. It's probably in the range of 1 to 10% those that actually win. And when people win, they tend to win in class action cases where the money is very, very dispersed downward, meaning one individual may get very little money because there's so many people in the class. Age discrimination is a big problem and we all pay for it in a lot of different ways in our society. Companies that do this hurt the wisdom in a collective level in their companies because many older workers have things to offer that younger workers don't have in certain kind of jobs, such as wisdom, education, life and work experience. And that can be a big problem. It's even worse that very few people win these lawsuits, so in some ways it's almost encouraged within the companies. Don't kid yourself. Age discrimination can happen as young as late 30s. People cannot afford to retire in America now till at least about 65 years old. It's a real problem out there. And when people are the victims of this, many times they get nothing from a company, or all they get is de minimis severance for a few months from these companies. It can be a complete mess in somebody's career, and they can get very, very little money, and they may not be able to afford to actually retire. We need new laws on this issue. Basically, one of the reasons it continues is because a lot of companies don't want to pay the health insurance costs for these older workers. And yeah, there's other reasons why it can happen, like they don't want to pay inflated salaries, or they don't want somebody coming into a company getting a pension very late in life for a small amount of years worked. But the reality is, a lot of it continues in my view because it's hard to prove. Sometimes they never interview you for a job because you're ferreted out based on age. That's one of the reasons why it's hard to prove, and that's one of the reasons we need new state and federal laws on the issue. In my opinion, they could pass a federal law where the law would require a company that wanted to get rid of somebody based on age, they would have to buy the person out financially up till at least about age 62. 62 is where you can start collecting Social Security in this country. So they would have to buy you out up to that age. A lot of this is already happening in the private sector. For example, if you had 5 years left with the company at 57 and you made $30,000 a year, they would have to buy you out, giving you $150,000 on one check with 90 days severance pay, and of course covering your health insurance for at least 6 months to a year. This is going on now anyway. This would make it fair so people can still survive financially. I believe a lot of the reason it continues to exist, like I stated before, is because of the high healthcare costs involved with older workers. Companies don't want to pay it, or sometimes there's other financial reasons why they don't want to hire older workers. The companies that are engaging in ageism, in those same companies, you may have a 90-year-old sitting on their board, and those same companies may be getting rid of people for age reasons in their 40s, 50s, and late 50s. It's complete hypocrisy. That's one of the reasons we need new laws on this issue to stop this. Congress and the state legislatures need to look at this. It's a serious problem in this country. If it happens to you, most likely you're not going to be able to afford to retire. It can wreck people's careers, and sometimes they simply don't have enough money to be able to retire. So they end up in a situation where sometimes they have to go on public assistance before Social Security kicks in, which all of us have to pay for. It needs to be stopped. We need laws on this issue. There is a law pending in the Senate right now and in Congress, but I don't think it does enough because it only really handles arbitration. It's a step in the right direction, but we need big laws with big teeth, in my opinion, to stop this. Once again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your consideration. I'm going to put the number for the DC switchboard in the description for this video on the internet. If you feel strongly about it, which you probably do, feel free to call your elected reps in Washington. Once again, thank you for your time. I appreciate your comments on here. Thank you for your time commitment. Thanks again for your time. Best wishes this year. Once again, it's free to subscribe.